Okay, that works. All right. So tonight we're covering the topic on sleep, and sleep is so important, and yet many of us compromise on our sleep, to either do work, watch shows, or just scroll social media, right? And I'm guilty of that as well. And we all know that that has an effect on our body the next day. And of course, I'll leave it to the expert to speak more about the topic. So here with me today is Dr. Tim, who is a chiropractor and owner of Total Health Chiropractic. So Total Health Chiropractic was founded in 2010 and has since earned many awards and lots of experience working with organizations like Capital Land, Fitness First, Home Team NS, and more. And they also have 5 locations around Singapore, so mainly Tampines, CBD, Tanjong Pagar, Toa Payoh, and Clementi. Yeah, so that's just a bit about Dr. Tim. And we'll also like to touch a bit about Calibrate. So Calibrate is a digital wellness platform to find and book pain relief solutions, all to optimize your well-being. And we have practitioners such as chiropractors, sports massage, TCM, and osteopath. So we recently just launched, so do check out our website, calibrateapp.co. And Racy will just drop the links later in the chat box. So in short, we're also like a platform which connects practitioners and users like yourself. So we also hope to solve the problem where users are unsure of who to go to when they are having pains. So on our website, you also be able to search by pain conditions like back pain or neck pain, so you know which practitioners are the most suitable for you. So without further ado, let's get started. And Dr. Tim, please. Yeah. Let me just stop sharing. Okay.
Thank you very much. Right, let me just see whether I can share my screen. That should be it. Okay, so thank you so much, Marianne. Thank you for introducing me. So happy to be here, and welcome to the health playground of Singapore, Calibrate. Well done. Tonight, I want to do as much good as I can. So I want to talk about sleep, which is one of the real pillars of health. Please use me as a resource, if you will. I'm going to be here. Please, if you have any questions, don't be shy. Just pop them in the chat, and let's see whether we can. Okay, if you could also mute your screens, that would be great. Yeah, so many people are struggling with sleep at the moment, and it really is a very, very important aspect of health. So, well, I could ask you all a question. Just how good are you in bed? Well, let's find out. We're going to go into this a little bit of depth. So we're going to understand more about the benefits of sleep, what it does for you, but also we're going to find out how it works against you if you're not getting enough sleep. It's a true fact that we should be getting 7 or 8 hours sleep. If you add all that up across our life, that actually comes to about 27 years of sleep. That's if you're getting enough. But I do wonder how many of you on this webinar are getting enough sleep. It's so easy just to cut back on it. We can make up for it later. Well, we're going to find out tonight that you can't make up for it later. Once you've lost it, and it's done some harm. So what is sleep? Well, let's think about what it is. If we think about the official definition, it's a bit wordy, but it's the behavioral and physiological state which is characterized by altered consciousness, reduced responsiveness to external stimuli, and this is the important bit, and homeostatic regulation. So during sleep, there's a lot of homeostatic regulation going on. And what does that mean? It's when the body has shut down and it's resting, but it's actually resetting itself. It's doing some healing, it's doing some regenerating, it's regulating itself. It's very, very important that we understand this. So most of you, I would imagine, know that there are stages of sleep. Well, let's go through them very quickly. There's 5 distinct stages, and these are actually differentiated by the length of our brain waves. And we go through this cycle about 2 to 3, sometimes 4 times every single night, some less, some more. So how well rested you are in the mornings, how well you function the next day depends on the quality of your sleep, but on the timing and how you run through these stages, this cycle. So let's just break this down. I've tried to make it a little bit simple so it's not too complicated. But stage 1 and stage 2, which is actually half our time asleep, this is where we've fallen asleep, it's light sleep. We are very easily awakened. The brain waves are slowing down and the heart rate and breathing is slowing down. But we're not into the real good part of sleep. Now, as we move into stage 3 and 4, our light sleep slowly moves into deeper sleep. Excuse me. So the brain waves are slowing more and more, and we're going into more restful sleep. It's more difficult to be awakened. Our breathing and our heart rate slows right down, and your body is very still. Now, in this stage 3 and 4, this is considered the restorative stage of sleep. There's repair going on, there's memory growth, we're making our memories, all the connections, the neurological connections stimulated by what we've done during the day, all happen in these stages. Very, very, very important that we spend good time in stages 3 and 4. And this is about a quarter of the night. As we come out of stage 4, we go into stage 5. Now, you'll have heard of REM sleep. Well, this is rapid eye movement. Now, what's happening is that our heart rate and blood pressure are starting to increase again. Those connections have happened in the brain, and it's stimulating cortical activity. Now, this cortical activity, which has been stimulated, actually brings on your dreams. And really, really interesting. So this is why, I don't know whether any of you are like me, but I have some crazy dreams sometimes. But it's because our cortex has been stimulated by these connections that have happened when the growth hormone that is released during stages 3 and 4, once that growth hormone is working in the brain, our connections are being made. And I find it fascinating that this is when we have all our dreams. Luckily, during this REM part, this dream type part of our sleep, our arms and legs are actually temporarily paralyzed. We actually sleep almost paralyzed while we dream. And if you have dreams like me, it's probably just as well we're a little paralyzed, or we'd be going crazy. So that's really interesting. But we should be getting through these stages at least twice a night, but preferably 3 times. So let's understand more about the brain, because the brain is the most important thing we have. During this restorative part of our sleep, things are happening. I mentioned these brain connections are being made. And this is when we make our memory and our learning happens. So very, very important for our children that they get into this deep sleep. We become more creative. And some of you might have heard the expression, I'm going to sleep on it. If you've been working on some kind of problem during the day, then you've been thinking, using your brain, but you haven't made those connections. So you haven't come up with a golden idea. So you go to bed, those connections are made, and suddenly you've slept on it, it pops into your brain. And if you look outside in Singapore and you see all those amazing creations, then these amazing buildings, then many of those have actually been created in sleep. The architect has been dreaming and coming up with all these fantastic ideas. And then the creativity that happens with growth hormone that's flooding through our veins during these periods, this allows these amazing creations to pop into their minds. It's fascinating stuff. So what else? If we get better sleep, we make better decisions. It's simple as that, because the growth hormones, all the good stuff that happens as we regenerate and we heal during sleep, it actually strengthens the pathways of brain cells that are needed to perform important tasks. Now, of course, we can look on the other side. Sleep deprivation is a massive problem. And if you're suffering from sleep deprivation, then really let's try and make the most of what we're talking about today. If you're not getting enough sleep and you move into a chronic deprivation of sleep, then you're going to develop sleep disorders. And you know, what type of thing can happen? Well, it's slowing down the thinking process. We spend our life with much more confusion, poor decision making. It brings on depression ultimately, and slower reaction time. And if you think about some of the natural disasters, well, no, not natural, the man-made disasters. You know, I'm thinking about plane crashes. I'm thinking about disasters involving oil spills or Chernobyl. These are all down to human error, and it's been attributed back to poor decision-making, slower reaction time due to chronic sleep, right? It's really important. And also we need to know that if we're not getting enough sleep, it's depleting our vitality, which I think is the most important thing that we have. So here's a question. I mean, could we all be sleep deprived to an extent? I know when I talk to my clients in our clinics that many people are worried about sleep, especially now. Many people seem to be suffering with, these are mental issues, but you know, let's just say people are more anxious nowadays. And if you have anxiety, it's playing on your mind, it's affecting your sleep. And this can have a much deeper,
talking about sleep today. You want to take it, then it's free.
Just waiting for you. If you could mute, that would be great. Thank you. Yeah, so
sleep deprivation, slow thinking process.
Hey,
exactly.
please mute yourself. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, if any questions, then please pop it in the chat. We'll address any questions at the end. What's becoming a much bigger problem the longer we age? We're now living longer lives, but unfortunately, many people are suffering from loss of cognitive function towards the end of life. And this is a real problem in society nowadays, dementia. It's something that I wouldn't want to wish on any family. But please understand that lack of sleep does increase your risk of dementia. There's many reasons for it, there's many pathways and physiological pathways, but one of them that's simple to explain is that your brain's not able to clear out the toxins, and those toxins ultimately will trigger Alzheimer's. Okay, very important. So let's think a bit more about the brain. You know, the brain it's our main tool. It really is our person. And creating memories are the most beautiful things that we have. We never want to lose our memories. We never want to get dementia, but we want to be creating our best memories. So try and think of your mind as a sponge. All this amazing information, all this input that's coming into our brains every day, it needs to go somewhere. And you have something in the brain called the hippocampus, which it's like the gatekeeper of your brain. And if we're thinking of our brain as a sponge, then that sponge wants to be emptied by sleep so that it can take in more information. Okay? And then once this information has come in, we actually want to get great sleep. So then the body, the hippocampus, can decide where to send it, where it's going to send it, where's it going to file away this information. So thinking of the hippocampus as a gatekeeper and as a director of this information traffic, and the brain as a sponge, I think is a good analogy. But we need the sleep to create those magic memories, which really are so precious as we go through life. So I mentioned at the beginning, when I was talking about the definition of sleep, that big long word homeostasis. And homeostasis is health. And health only happens when the body's in balance. And that's what the body's always doing. It's bringing us back to balance. But the problem is, and it's a very sobering fact that I have to deal with every day, is that this is wonderful Singapore. And despite Singapore being one of the top countries in the world for longevity, unfortunately, the last few years, especially the last decade or so of life, 80% of people are succumbing to these problems. You can see them written there: arthritis, degeneration, diabetes, blood pressure, cancer, strokes, heart attacks. It's quite a sobering list, and these are touching 4 out of 5 people. And recently we've had to add a couple more: mental health and debilitating headaches, which have all got worse with this working from home scenario. And what is a major factor? Yeah, you guessed it: sleep deprivation. So let's see how sleep, let's go a bit deeper into how it helps us. It's promoting heart health. Well, how is it doing that? Well, as we go through the cycles of sleep, our heart rate is dropping and our blood pressure is dropping. It takes the pressure off our vascular system. So that means when the blood pressure drops, the growth hormone, which does all the repair, it initiates all our repair, it can then get to repairing our endothelial linings. That's the inner linings of our blood vessels and the inner linings of our heart itself. Okay, we need this pressure drop at night. And then conversely, lack of sleep is a stressful thing which builds up in the body. Stress triggers adrenaline, it triggers cortisol. And what does that do? Creates more inflammation. And what does that do? It damages the arteries, harms the arteries, and this leads to cardiovascular disease. Okay, very, very important. So I've mentioned these hormones that are associated with sleep. There's many, but I'm going to just touch on 3 important ones. Growth hormone, I've mentioned. This is where all our cells are growing, our bodies are growing. So important for our kids. And regeneration, especially as we're aging. Now, what else? Well, when we sleep, our body releases cytokines and various proteins which regulate our immune system and gives us a strong immune system. So if we're not sleeping well, it's affecting our immune system. And also, if we're not sleeping well, this stimulates the stress system, and it depresses our parasympathetics, which again, it depresses our immune system. Now, what else happens? Well, none of us want to put on weight. It's a big problem, and it's getting bigger, and sleep is contributing enormously, because what happens is that sleep is a powerful regulator of our appetite and our energy use and weight control. There's a balance between two hormones. We have leptin and we have ghrelin. The leptin suppresses our appetite and our ghrelin increases our appetite. And when these are out of balance, then guess what happens? Yeah, we lose the ability to regulate and we start piling on the pounds. Okay, very, very, very important. And it's just a well-known, proven fact that if we are only getting 5 or maybe 6 hours sleep, it's not enough. You're much more likely to put on weight. And if you're getting less than that, less than 5 hours, then you stand the chance of heading towards diabetes and things like that. Okay, very important for our regulation. So what about how we age? Yeah, we all want to age healthily. We all want to age healthily. But we saw the statistics that so few people actually managed to get through with a clean slate. Now, so quality sleep has got to become part of our lifestyle. This world is so far out of balance that if we are not proactive, then it probably won't happen. Something else will happen. And if it's not wellness, then it's the flip side. And the flip side is not what we want. And it's such a shame when we actually have genetics that can take us towards health and can take us towards disease. And it's up to us. we say in functional medicine and chiropractic that our genes load the gun and our lifestyle pulls the trigger. So all of us, many of us, have got genes that predispose us to certain aspects of loss of health. But it only will manifest if we allow it. If we have a healthy life and we exercise well and we get good sleep and we have a positive mental attitude, then our body is far more likely to retain health. Okay? This really is an important part of our wellness lifestyle. So we've seen how important sleep is, but how much do we actually need? I have twins, they're now 18 years old, but when they were newborns, they used to sleep nearly all the time. And it's true, they need 16 to 18 hours a day. Preschool age kids need 11 to 12. School age children sleep at about, they need sort of 8, 9, 10 hours is better. Teenagers, 9 to 10 hours of sleep. All adults need 7 to 8. So now you can tell me in the chat, how many hours are you getting? Now, even the elderly, we see so many elderly people struggling with their sleep, but they don't need less sleep. They need as much sleep as the younger members of society need as well. But why are they not able to get so much sleep? Well, they're more likely to have medical conditions that prevents them getting sleep and that disrupt their sleep. And the other thing that I really want to make sure you know is that many people seem to do away with sleep. They forego sleep during the week, and they say, "I'll sleep later. I'll catch up later." But you can't catch up the sleep properly. Please understand that it really doesn't work. So what people tend to do is forget that we are part of nature. And we are now in a tech-driven society. And we've got to understand that we've got to get back to the basics. If we want to nurture ourselves and nurture our soul, nurture our brain, nurture our bodies, we've got to get as close to nature as possible. So with nature in mind, I just want to lighten things up for a moment. And let's just think about other mammals. We're mammals. Let's just think of these guys. So this is just to lighten the subject for a moment, but how interesting is this? These are mammals that live in the sea. So I'm now going to move into tips for getting a good night's rest. Well, how does a mammal that lives underwater get a good night's rest? They have to breathe air into their lungs just like we do. They do it through the blowholes on the top of their heads, right? But how do they prevent themselves from drowning? Well, it's quite interesting. I think very interesting because I'm a little bit of a nerd. But what happens is that half of their brain closes down at any one time. So during the time that they need to rest, regenerate, grow, etc., they literally shut down half their cortex and they stay alive with their other half. And then again, it flips, and that's how they do it. So it's interesting that all animals, I'm not going to go through all different types of animals tonight, but I'll just move on to my other one, but all animals have got strategies for their sleep, and we also are animals. What about these guys? These guys are sea otters. I was fortunate enough to go swimming in Monterey off California a couple of years ago, and we swam with sea otters. They weren't sleeping, but how do they sleep? So they don't drift apart when they're floating on the kelp beds. You can see it right there. They literally hold hands while they're sleeping. How cute is that? So let's move back to human beings. Let's go through my tips, which are well recognized for a good night's sleep. Number one is exercise. If we're not getting enough exercise, we're not going to be sleeping as well. So make sure you're getting some exercise during the day. None of us are moving enough in this world. Just going to the gym twice a week for half an hour is not enough. We are animals, remember. We are born to be on the move. So literally every day, get up, get out for a walk. I take my dog for a walk. I've got my strategies. What are your strategies? Try not to exercise any later than 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. Well, that might just that might stimulate you rather than having the opposite effect. We need to avoid stimulants. So what could these be? Well, obviously smoking. That's a no-brainer. Don't smoke. Coffee. Many of these sugary drinks have got stimulants in them as well. A lot of the chemical sugars like aspartame, these are actually neurotoxins. They're neurostimulators. They are very, very bad, especially for our growing kids. So let's try and keep them away from that. What else have we got? I've got plenty more, plenty of tips here. We need to get into a schedule. We need to get into a nice schedule of sleep. Create rhythms. We are creatures of habit, and we as human beings, we find difficulty in adjusting to different schedules all the time. So just be aware of it. Try and get into a role. Going to bed at the same time every night. Try not to make it too different, as I mentioned, at weekends to during the week. My little golden rule: I try and go to bed soon after 10, and I try and sleep through till about 6 or 6 plus. I'm going to give you some strategies on how to create that schedule in a little short while. What else? What about alcohol? Many of us like to have a nightcap at night. I like to have a glass of wine after my day's work. Of course, it will definitely calm us down and give us some relaxation, but please not too much, because it will end up destroying your REM, your REM sleep, and you'll spend more time in the lighter stages of sleep. And remember, that's when we're not getting the really beneficial effects. Also, we can end up going to the bathroom, and we don't want to be that lady on the right side, tossing and turning and all that. We've all been there, but it's not where we want to go. We want to get into some nice rhythms of sleep. We all eat in the evenings, yeah, but try and avoid large meals, and you definitely don't want heavy carbs before sleep. What does that do? Well, you're going to get a surge of insulin in your blood, and what goes up must come down. And then if you get an insulin crash or drop during the night, then the body sees that as a stressor, and it will start giving out cortisol, the stress hormone. And then what's that going to do? Yep, it's going to wake you up. Always remember, if we're eating big meals and taking in too many fluids later at night, we're more likely to be going to the bathroom all night as well. So just be aware. So we've all heard of melatonin. And how does melatonin work? Yeah, well, melatonin is it's a hormone, and as we go through the day, we have a flow, we have a rise and we have a drop of melatonin. And melatonin is that hormone that gets us off to sleep. You can see right in there that the melatonin generally should rise in the evenings, and that sort of gets us off to sleep. And then it drops during the night. The melatonin drops, and then our cortisol comes up early in the morning, and then that's what wakes us up. Okay, but as we get older, or if we are too stressed as we go to bed, we're not producing enough melatonin. So we can work out some strategies that help us with this flow, this graph of that we should run through of melatonin. And daylight is the actual key. So what we need to do really in the morning is try and get out in the sunshine. Early in the morning, get out in the sunshine. If that's not possible, if you're straight off to the office, try and get into some bright lights early on, because that's telling the body that it's now daytime. So the melatonin comes down, cortisol comes up, it's time to be awake. But then later on in the day, maybe sort of an hour before bedtime, we want to cut the amount of light down. So we can turn the lights down probably an hour before we go to bed, and that's going to help the body produce more melatonin, and then we can sort of move towards drifting off to sleep. Okay, if we want to supplement melatonin, many people swear by it. Should always try things naturally first, but melatonin is natural. It's not something you want to rely on, though. But if you do supplement, and if you're going through some real problems with sleep, it's probably worth a try. Definitely, you want to start small. So only start with 0.5 to 1 milligram a day, and you take that half an hour before you go to bed. So you can try that and just see whether it works, but try not to get to rely on it. Otherwise, it will affect your body's own production of melatonin. Okay. So many people nowadays, unfortunately, are on all sorts of medication, and many of these are sleep disruptors. So if you're on meds and you're having sleep problems, then ask your pharmacist, look on the back. If you can read it, all that small print, have a look and see what it says. But maybe ask your pharmacist, maybe if there's any options that you can explore. So what about napping? Many of us like to have a bit of a nap. I sometimes have a nap during the day, and I spent many years living in Spain, where we have more of a nocturnal lifestyle. So napping for us was a very important time of the day. They even have a name for it. It's called siesta time. But please know that you should not be napping for more than 20-30 minutes, and try not to nap after 3 p.m. Or this is going to probably end up interrupting your big sleep at the end of the day. Okay. So what else? Well, if we want to get ready for sleep, we want to start relaxing. So we want to unwind. Try not to overschedule your day so you don't have time to unwind. I know people are busy, but really, when it comes to 8 o'clock at night, start to unwind. Give yourself time. For goodness sake, it's a busy life, but we need time for ourselves. Okay. That hour before bed, try and get away from tech. Get off social media. I know it drags us in. I know we're all obsessed with our phones and things, but it is not healthy. And at some stage, we need to get over it. Try listening. Get back to listening to music. Read. How about reading an old-fashioned book, a good old story? This is going to put us in a good place for sleeping. And it really is better than tossing and turning all night and having a bad day the next day. Another good strategy is to have a warm bath or a warm shower before you go to bed. It's very relaxing, but what happens is then after, we get a drop in the body temperatures, and that drop in body temperature causes drowsiness, and that's the state we want to get into so we can sleep. Okay, something else to try. Now, what about if you are tossing and turning, you can't sleep? Do not spend too much time getting more and more anxious in your sleep space in bed, right? You want your bed to be a tranquil area. It's your area for sleep. So if you're not asleep, don't lie there tossing and turning. Get away from it. Find something to do. Go back to your book, whatever it is, you can unwind. Okay, get yourself into a sleep where you're drowsy again, you're feeling sleepy. For me, it would definitely be a book. I always have a good book at hand. Okay. So what about our sleep space? Because that's very, very, very important. if we're going to have a good night's sleep. So let's just run through things that we should think about our environment. We need to get the environment right. So let's just run through this list. We want the light right? We want to dim the lights. And now before bed, when you go to bed, get the lights off. Be aware you don't want any blinking lights, you know, from TVs or phones or any of the technology that you have. Think about how much light is percolating through the curtains. You know, this is a big city. You know, there's a lot of light out there. Do you need blackout curtains? So what is there in the room that can be disturbing your sleep, that is distracting? We want to be creating a calm, uncluttered space. Uncluttered, I think, is important. I find it really hard to sleep if the room is a complete, you know, pigsty. There's stuff all over the place. It's cluttered. It creates a bit of anxiety in your mind as you go to bed. So keep it calm and relaxing. So what about the temperature of your room? We want it cool. 16 to 20 degrees, about that is best. It's been proven. You don't want it hot. It's, you know, we're tossing and turning, we get all sticky. We don't want that. Nice and cool. You can wrap yourself up in a sheet or a blanket. Create that nice environment. Mattress, pillow, obviously, I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment, but it wants to be comfortable, supporting, and conducive to sleep. What else do we want? No annoying sounds. If you are in a busy environment that you can't get away from that sound, then maybe try and create some white noise using some technology, or I find it very relaxing, just have a fan. I don't have AC in my room myself. I have a nice fan above my bed. It keeps me cool, and there's a nice whirring sound, just cuts out the sound of those cats and the cars and the traffic that are outside. Okay. Other things you might try are smells. Smells are things that go straight into our limbic system. They can be very, very comforting, and they can be very conducive to sleep. So what kind of sleeps? Essential oils, maybe lavender or something like that. Okay. Experiment. We are all different. Try something. What works for you? So we want to create rhythms. So I'm going to come up with a couple of, I think, are important strategies here. And we've all have times when we struggle with sleep. So these have been proven by an awful lot of research. So let's think about how we're going to create our rhythms. These are circadian rhythms, okay? These are the rhythms of life. So we're aiming for 8 hours, but let's just say you definitely want 6 hours, okay? If you're going to be on top form for that important meeting at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, you want your 6 hours, but you've been sleeping badly, right? So think about what time do you need to be up? Okay, you need to be up at 6 o'clock. Okay, 6 a.m. to get to that meeting, so you're ready. So you know you need 6 hours sleep. So if you want 6 hours sleep, do not enter your bedroom until 6 hours before. Okay, so I know you're tired. You're tired at 10 o'clock, but you're not tired enough. You want to make sure you get off to sleep. So don't go to bed until 6 hours before you want to be up, right? This is your strategy you're going to work on, okay? Keep working through this healthy pre-bed routine that I've been identifying, but you only go to bed 6 hours before you need to be up. Now you have the best chance, okay? Now, once you've done this a few times, you're going to do this, maybe for 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to get 6 hours sleep, okay? Once you know that you're getting the best part of 6 hours, so maybe you're keeping a sleep diary, but you're keeping a note of it. Once you're able to sleep 90% of this time, you can bring it forward. You're going to aim for 8 hours. You're going to bring it forward slowly, 15 minutes a day. Okay, not more than that. So we're slowly, we've created a habit of getting 6 quality hours, and then we're going to aim for 8 hours by slowly extending our sleep. Okay, that's something that I want you to try. Okay, don't go to bed don't get into that bed until 6 hours before you know you need to be up. Get into a habit and then slowly extend that time. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Any questions? Then address this at the end. So what about a very quick strategy for getting to sleep? Well, there's been an awful amount of research done by the military. Our soldiers, they go into war zones, they're in stressful situations, but they still need sleep. So how do they get to sleep? Well, it's something that they practice, and they practice in peacetime, and they do it over and over and over again until they make it part of their circadian rhythm, part of their rhythm at night. So here's how they do it. When you get into bed and you know it's time to sleep, I want the first thing you do is to relax the muscles in your face, especially the muscles in your jaw and around the eyes. Okay? And just think about it. Usually we have expression. Let the expression just fall out. We are aware, become aware of your face. Let those muscles just completely relax. Then drop your shoulders as far as they go down, follow into the arms, allowing your upper body to become really heavy. Okay, then you're going to breathe out, and you're going to now start breathing through your diaphragm. That's, you're breathing deeply into your stomach, into your tummy. Slowly in and out. You're now going to draw your attention to your legs. You're going to let them, all the tension come out your legs. You're going to let them go really heavy, dead weights. So your whole body has become relaxed. You're breathing deeply through your diaphragm. You're a dead weight. Okay. Now you go back to the beginning. Just think about your face. Again, let the tension come out of your eyes, out of your jaw, move down to your chest. Let everything go heavy, heavy, heavy. Keep going back to those eye muscles and those jaw muscles. Keep relaxing it. Just keep going round and round your body. If you keep doing this, you're going into a parasympathetic state. You will drift off. Okay? Just practice it. It's practice makes perfect. I've been practicing this myself. It works. And it's been proven over and over again. The military are very good at these things, so give it a try. Okay? Any questions? Let's hit this one at the end. Okay, so people ask me all the time about sleep posture. We should be asleep for, or certainly in bed for eight hours a night. What you do for 8 hours can actually do harm, or it can do good. So let's just think a moment about our posture. Whether we sleep on our side or on our back, we want to sleep with our spine in neutral. If we're on our side, we want our spine as straight as possible. So using cushions or maybe an orthopedic pillow, you can see the second illustration down. We want to be nice and neutral. Sleeping on our back, we definitely don't want 3 or 4 pillows like you might find in a hotel. Pushing your head forward, no, 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 no. After you've spent a day with your head in your computer, you want to regain the natural curve of the neck. So there you see at the bottom, using an orthopedic pillow. Maybe you can just use a neck roll or roll a towel up or something. But you want a neutral spine and you want the head back, okay? What kind of mattress do I prefer? Well, there's all sorts of types. I have been involved in the development of orthopedic mattresses. The type that I want is one that is firm underneath, so maybe a coil mattress underneath, but then you want a comfort layer on top. So something that takes the lumps and bumps, your shoulders and your hips. So maybe a soft foam on top and maybe a firm coil mattress underneath, whatever works for you, okay? It's definitely worth trying. Now, as a chiropractor, I want to bring this to attention, that your nervous system is your brain communicating with your body. Your nervous system runs through your spine. Any bad alignment of the spine, any bad posture will always put tension onto the spinal cord and into the brain. So we know statistically that a third of our chiropractic patients report immediate improvements in their sleep. We've done plenty of we've asked our patients all the time how they're sleeping, and more than 90% of our patients will tell us that they are sleeping better. So this is reproducible, and let's just understand what's happening. Our chiropractic adjustment is taking the tension out of the spine. We are improving blood flow, relieving pressure on nerves. We are moving you towards a state of relaxation, reducing the flow of stress hormones, obviously reducing pain, improving breathing. It really is the safest alternative compared with medication, that is for sure. Our clients report that they have a more active immune system. We have numerous case studies, okay? What I want you to know is that you need to find out what works for yourself. I'm talking about a mission critical statement. I'm talking about sleep being not an optional lifestyle luxury. It really is a non-negotiable biological necessity. It really is part of your life support system, okay? Think of it as that. And I've gone through a lot of stuff there. We've talked about why it's important we get it. We've talked about strategies, how we can improve sleep. But please know that it really is non-negotiable. You have to have your own strategy. It is one of the pillars of health. Okay, so a lot of stuff there. So moving on, if we're going to go through to the chat, I'm sure there'll be some questions because I know so many people are suffering from sleep. I've just popped that there. There is our website. If you go to our website, right on the front, there is always a special offer how you can get into our clinics at a reduced rate. So go to our website. If anybody wants to address me, you can find my number on the website for sure. There's my email address at the bottom there. Feel free. I answer all emails, so feel free. I'll just leave that there for a couple more sessions, and then I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to go back to Marianne.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Dr. Thiem.
Thank you so much for listening, and as I said, I'm very, very happy to answer any questions. So.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was such an insightful session, especially when you mentioned about the sleep schedule and having the rhythm, because I don't have a consistent sleep schedule, and this was definitely very interesting to me. Yeah, so we do have quite a bit of questions, so I'll just read out. So we have one question from VK. I'm a light sleeper and get awakened in the middle of the night about 2 times, sleep 12 a.m., woke up 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. before my 7:30 a.m. Is there anything we can do for those who get interrupted sleep like myself? Yeah.
Yeah, again, I'm going to make all these slides available afterwards. So what I'll do is I'll just make it into a PDF and I'll just send it through so you can share them. But yeah, so we've got to get it into the rhythm of life, and so we've got to get into this state where we get restful sleep. And how do you do that? Well, you prepare for it. And if you're not, we've got to think about anxiety, what's happening there. I think that by getting rid of technology an hour before sleep, and if that's impossible for all of you, then Okay, let's agree half an hour, okay? Half an hour before sleep, get rid of all time, get off your social media. That doesn't make you feel restful. It really stimulates anxiety. Pick up a book, get yourself into a restful state, read until you're falling asleep, okay? We've got to get back into these cycles. If not, think about the ways that my strategies, remember my strategies? We just calm down the eyes, calm down the jaw, we let our body go, become dead weights, breathe diaphragmatically into our stomach. These are good strategies that work, okay? But we've got to, don't just lie there. You get more anxious. So think about what you're eating, think about what you're drinking, think about good habits, okay? Good habits.
Right. That's definitely good tips for them. All right, the next question is from ET. So, hi, Dr. Tim, loved your digital book. I've been using tea tree aromatic oil and like tea to help me to sleep, but recent days I seem to be immune to it. No longer can I fall asleep easily. I need another plan. Looks like you got a super fan here.
Great. You need another plan? Well, okay. Well, what I will say is all of the above. Everything that we've been talking about. Look at everything. Look at everything. But do work on it. Do understand that it's really, really important. Maybe think about taking some melatonin. You know, melatonin does help, but don't get hooked. If you take melatonin and you're young, then you want to get back into cycles. What's stopping the melatonin are probably going to be your flow of your release of cortisol during the day. So you need to get away from stressful situations at the end of the day. You've got to get the cortisol levels down and allow the melatonin to come up. Okay. If you've been trying tea tree, then how about lavender? My wife sprays lavender on my pillow before I go to bed, and works for her, works for me. Drives her crazy because I get off to sleep much quicker than her do, much faster than she does. But lavender works for us. Okay, try that one.
Awesome. How often do you recommend starters to start taking melatonin?
How
often do you recommend people to start taking the pills, melatonin? Yeah. Maybe for the starters who are unable to sleep and wants to try out.
Okay, so if you're going through all my other strategies and you still have anxiety, you're still not getting off to sleep, then perhaps it's time to try melatonin. But start small. Okay, do start small. You can get it from health stores. You can get it from pharmacies, but only start with 0.5 milligram. Then if that's not working, go to 1 milligram. Then go up slowly. You don't really want to be going up above sort of 2-3 milligrams. And then if that's not working, you have got to go back to thinking about cortisol and the stress hormones that are running through. So you need to get the strategies of reducing your stress hormones, because that will cancel out the melatonin. Okay? Anxiety, and this is a very, very anxious world, especially nowadays. So, we've got to be having our strategies.
Right.
What is it? What is it? Start the day well. At the end of the day, end the day well. Okay. If you have an anxious, stressful job, okay, that's for work. Try not to bring it home. Really, you've got to have balance in life. If you don't, it's going to get you in the end. So literally, do not let it happen. Look after yourself, okay? And find out what works for you. I do all sorts, I exercise, I meditate, I start the day well. I create one of my strategies. I create the perfect day in my mind at the beginning of the day, and when I can see the perfect day, I live that day. And that's what I try and do. And then at the end of the day, I always will have a relaxing hour, watch a bit of TV, and then try and cut it off before I go to bed, dim the lights, and spray some lavender on the pillow. I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay?
Nice. Yeah, I do agree. Lifestyle.
Everybody's different.
Yeah.
We've really got to find out what works for ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Tim. So Brian also asked, what's the best timing to sleep and what happens to our body when we sleep?
What's the best timing to sleep? Well, again, what works for you? I personally am aiming from, let's say, 10:30 to 6:30. That's me. That fits my schedule. I'm pushing it back a little bit now because I'm not getting up so early with my kids for school. So I'm pushing it back a little bit later. So I'm not going to bed at 10:30, 11, and I'm aiming to sleep through to 6:30 or 7, okay? So find the cycle. You've got to create your own circadian rhythms, okay? So that's down to you. What happens to the body when you sleep? All the good stuff. The body's running through the cycles. You've got to get through the cycles, and you've got to get through them to get into the deep sleep, okay? Again, we've been through that, but that's when all the good stuff happens. Growth hormone, repair, all the connections in the brain. If you want to get the best of your days, you've got to get the best of your nights. It's as simple as that. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely agree. Okay, we have another question by Wei Sheng. We said there's academic studies that suggest that there's an optimum number of hours sleep, and sleeping too much can actually result in higher mortality rate. Any views or thoughts on this?
Okay, let's talk about that just for a moment. I'm not going to go into too much depth there, but people who are sleeping longer and longer and longer and longer are probably suffering from something like thyroid disorder. You know, they've burnt out their adrenals, and they literally are in a state where they don't have enough energy for life itself. Okay, so you know we're talking adrenal burnout. So this is a time to go and see your doctor of functional medicine. Doctor, you know, I'm not saying go and you're needing medication, but I'm saying that your homeostatic regulation is definitely out of kilter. Some people do need more than 8, but you should not be having 12, 13, 14 hours of sleep. There's something wrong, and it's probably adrenal burnout, okay? So you need to be talking to somebody. Does that help? You know, you want to be aiming for 8 quality hours. If you're needing much, much, much more than that, then you know I think you want to be talking to somebody. And who would that person be? You want to be looking for a doctor of functional medicine, your chiropractor perhaps. They can push you in the right direction. Maybe TCM. I would, when it comes to things like this, you know, you can talk to your medical doctor, but you know, in my world, it's probably not a shortage of a drug you need. It's probably some kind of getting your life back into balance. Okay. Okay,
thanks, Dr. Tim. Another question is by Yen Ming. Any slides to share? So if I'm not wrong, Dr. Tim will be sharing in PDF. Is that right?
I can share a PDF. I can send you the slides. So I'll send them to Jerry, who's our representative, and I'm sure he'll forward them to you, Marianne.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
And you feel free to share them.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Dr. Tim. Cass asked, does music or sounds help in improving sleep quality? Do you have a recommendation of playlist or type of sounds for us?
Yeah, well, I probably wouldn't be recommending any of my son's music for good sleep. You know, obviously, soothing sounds. You know, you probably don't want to be playing heavy rap or rock and roll just before you go to bed. It's a personal thing. You know, it's been proven that classical music is conducive to sleep. Louder music is not. So you know, find out what works for you. If you want to drift off to some good sleep, then there is plenty of stuff, YouTubes, and there's plenty of playlists that you can find where there is all sorts of meditations that will drift you off to sleep, and that's going to be very spiritual, soft music. I think you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So find out what works for you. There's plenty of out there. Just find what works for you.
Yeah. Okay. We have another question by Yanming. So he asked, what is sleep diary? You mentioned that in one of your slides.
Yeah, I did. So a sleep diary is, you could actually, because this will actually make it mindful. So when you get my slides, you can put together your list, your list of things that you want to try and get through during the day. So you're putting yourself into the best state. And then you could make a diary. What time do you go to bed? Have you gone through the preparation? What have you missed out? What time did you go to sleep? How many times did you wake up? What time did you wake up in the morning? Did you feel that you had restorative sleep? And if you make a diary, it's going to make you more cognizant. It's going to make you more aware of what you do during the day. What was your nap time? How long did you nap for? What time was your last cup of coffee? This is what I'm talking about. Okay, so just all the things that affect sleep you can jot down. And is it worth doing? Yes, because if you are in that terrible state where you're not getting restorative sleep, it creates anxiety. Anxiety creates stress. Stress ultimately leads to disease. So we don't want to go there. So why don't you just spend a month creating a diary, think about everything that I've mentioned, and it's going to help you get into this rhythm of life, creating the right circadian rhythms. Okay, worth trying.
Yeah, that's good. We have another question by VK. Is there anything to do to relax the muscles? I'm unsure how to relax face and neck.
Yeah, practice. I do this almost every single night. If I want to get to sleep, sometimes I'll just fall asleep, I'm tired. But if I want to get to sleep, I will think about my eyes and I'll realize there's tension in my eyes and I'll drop that tension. Just let your face go. Just practice it. And then think about your jaw and go backwards and forwards between your eyes, your brow, and your jaw. And just drop the tension out of it. And you'll see that once you stop thinking about it and you start thinking about something else, tension's going to come back into your face. Keep dropping the tension out of your face. Go back to your breathing. Drop the tension out of your face. Back to your breathing. Before you know it, you'll be asleep. Okay? Practice.
Awesome.
Practice makes perfect.
Yeah, everything comes with practice. And we have a last question. So VK asked, does white background sound help? Yeah,
it does. Especially if there's a busy road outside or whatever. Yeah, that white sound could be anything. You can do it through tech, and you can do it by a fan. I have a fan. That whirring fan sound is I find very soothing, and it just helps me get off to sleep. Okay, good white sound.
All right, I think we've come to the end of the questions. Do you have anything? Does anyone else have anything to add? If not, we can close off the session. Maybe Dr. Tim, is there anything else you would like to add on?
No, not about sleep. We've really gone through a lot about sleep. Just understand it really, really, really is important. I constantly meet people who say, "Oh, I only need 4 hours. I sleep very lightly. I only need 4 hours." Yeah, well, that will catch up with you. We know that it will catch up with you. You do not want your rhythm to get into the rhythm where you go to sleep at 2, you're up at 6, and you might feel okay now, you might feel okay for a few years even, but it will catch up with you, and you will suffer from premature aging. Simple as that. Okay. So please remember, I'm here for you. Use me as a resource. Contact me if there's any questions, obviously about posture or spinal health, anything to do with natural health. I'm here for you guys. Okay. So
Yep.
thank you so much, and I look forward to next time.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Tim. And thanks everyone for coming to this webinar. So Riti has also sent some of our social media links along with a feedback form. So we will email that to you guys as well. So just need your, opinions on how we can improve and what kind of topics you're keen in. And, we might possibly bring Dr. Tim back again for another webinar. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye. Good
Thank you
night.
very much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.